everyone. Welcome to the Festival of Hope. We are exploring the ritual and tradition around winter solstice. So I first want to just say out loud, in case you've not heard any, first of all, we've had our community video today, which was wonderful, was done by Marnie Williams-Balotis and Amy Ross from the Hummingbird Center for Hope. And for those of you who have not yet watched it, as you might remember, I live in California where we don't really put on beanies and wear hats because it's not that cold. But our beautiful community video was filmed in Canada where they do often have those kind of hats. And so they've got the little cute little furry hats on and they're outside in the snow honoring the winter solstice. So if you've not yet had an opportunity to look at the community video, please do. You'll find that on the Soaring Spirits website under Festival of Hope, and just click on the community videos where they're all being housed. So we'll talk a little bit more about our friends at the Hummingbird Center for Hope. But before we do, I just want to recognize winter solstice is actually December 21st. And the reason we're talking about it this week is because Hanukkah, Christmas, and winter solstice all fall within the same week. And so we needed to spread them out. And winter solstice seemed to us to be the most flexible. So we moved winter solstice forward so that we could explore the idea of it. And also the activity that we have today, we're going to talk about is something maybe you could do on winter solstice. So knowing about it in advance and learning how to do it will be helpful to being ready for December 21st if you should so choose. So as we talked about, in the intro and the community video, winter solstice is the shortest day and longest night for us in the northern hemisphere. And so that's what is happening on December 21st. But what the kind of general concept is that when we stand at winter solstice, we begin heading towards the sun. So we begin coming towards the days when the days get longer. So it is like the darkest darkness that's heading towards the brightness. So I have been really appreciating that for our lockdown. So many of us have been inside, have sort of been hibernating, if you will. And if we can give some meaning to our hibernation and be able to continue to hold that light out, winter solstice is just such a beautiful explanation of that. So, all right, let's talk a little bit about who we have with us today. Catherine Stemm, who is a good friend of mine. Hi, Catherine, welcome.
Hi, thank you, Michelle.
It's so good to have you. I was delighted when just so you know, 18 weeks of programming, there's always a blip here or there of things that happen. And Marnie, who is one of the co-founders of Hummingbird Center for Hope, said we got our dates mixed up. And so she was able to do the community video, but timing wise, she wasn't able to be here at this exact time because they're running a support group right now. And so lucky for us, she passed the baton to Catherine. Catherine was willing and able. And so here she is to join us to talk a little bit about not only the winter solstice, our relationship with Hummingbird, but just to be able to kind of catch up, which makes me so happy. I love getting to see my friends. So Catherine, just tell us a little bit about you. Where you are in the world? What's it like in your household right now? What do you do?
What I do? Well, right now I'm doing a lot, and that's a lot of teaching. So I am teaching the 5th and 6th grade up here in Canada. And because of COVID, we are doing it online and in class simultaneously. So I stand in front of the classroom on camera for the whole time, and I teach. So it's all about adapting, and that's what we've been doing at home. My 3 boys are actually doing their classes online instead. My mother lives with us now, so we wanted to kind of keep our contacts down. So with me having to go to work, they decided to stay online at home. And so that's been an adaptation as well. And they're doing okay. So we're okay right now. I can honestly say we're good.
I'm glad to hear that. And you've got a little community going on at home right now with
I
mom
do.
and kids. And yeah, we before you all came on, Catherine and I just talked a little bit about, what has this time of hibernation done for your family? Catherine, maybe we can start there.
Well, I mean, we were talking about how in some ways I've looked at it as a gift. My boys are at an age where my oldest is 16 and he's got his learner's permit for his driver's license. And before this shutdown, he was out all the time and busy with sports. And then my middle guy is a theater, kid. And so he was always doing these different theater, projects. And my youngest kid is just a gamer, so we all kind of went our separate ways a lot of the time and had to schedule that family time. And now it's just fallen in our lap and it's been constant. And so it's like getting to know the new people that they've become. So it's been really kind of a blessing.
Yeah. And I know for some of us who are home alone, it's, hearing your story makes people think they wish that they had that pod at home. And others have had the pod and it was hard. And so they're okay with being home alone now. So I like to just kind of recognize the diversity of our experiences while also recognizing that we all are all sort of in this hibernation period. And it's such a beautiful gift of the winter solstice to view darkness as an opportunity instead of darkness. It often has a negative connotation, don't you think?
For the longest time for me, it did, because all I thought was leading up to it, my daylight's getting shorter, it's getting shorter, and now today it's shorter again. Mm-hmm. And it was this downhill slide for me, and I didn't really turn it around to say, well, but once we get there, like what goes down is going to go back up. And so I had to kind of flip my thinking on it to think of it more as a celebration. Like, instead of, oh my gosh, we're getting to the darkest day, flip it and go, oh my gosh, the darkness is almost over, and then it's going to be light from here on in.
I think
that shift is amazing.
It is amazing. I think the other thing that's unique too is that I know all of the people who are joining us, both here on the call and also in our community, come from such different weathers, wherever they live in the world. So you all get a good kick out of us talking about the project we're going to talk about in a few minutes, because what may stay frozen in Canada might not stay frozen in California. And so depending on where you are in the world, weather also impacts your ability to get outside, your ability to, be kind of, the hibernation period might be longer. So what's that like for you where you are? Are you snowed in often? Like, what are the next couple months going to bring for you generally weather-wise?
In Toronto, we get a mixed bag. So sometimes we get a very, very snowy year. And then sometimes, the only consistent thing is it gets very cold. So when it gets really cold and there's no snow to have the kids play on, then you have to stay inside. There's really nothing to do. So it does get kind of, people feel down and they feel like they're inside and can't experience the fresh air. And right. I don't know, it's claustrophobic almost.
Yeah. And I think,
Canada puts together a bunch of different activities that you can usually find a way to do.
Yeah.
And so we have a lot of indoor winter stuff, usually.
Right. Exactly. Usually. And then there's 2020. And so I think the other thing to recognize too is for people who struggle with seasonal depression, or, who are influenced by the lack of sunlight, and, being able to sort of just recognize and honor that sometimes these hibernation periods and the darkness has a physical effect on people, and being able to, be aware of that as we go into something like solstice. Like, I feel like, what solstice calls us to is to see the darkness for what it is, to recognize, the opportunity within as well as the challenges. And as you said, when you change your thinking about what's coming and being, it's almost a time of waiting, right? Like in Advent, one of the celebrations for Christmas, I was raised as a Catholic, and one of our big things was a waiting. So was that Advent was the waiting for the birth of Christ. And so, solstice for me is like the waiting period. It's the waiting for spring. It's the waiting for blooming. It's the waiting for, what with the seasons will come. So I love that. And so we were talking a little bit about, how would we express that? And Marnie, so let's talk about Hummingbird Centre for Hope really quick. They are a wonderful organization founded in Canada that serves widowed parents. So they provide a variety of service for widowed parents. And Catherine, tell us about how you got involved and what you do with Hummingbird.
Well, when I first became widowed, which was 8 years ago now, I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how to be a widowed mom with these young kids. My kids were very young at the time. And so I put it into Google. How do you do young widowed? And Hummingbird Centre, because I'm in Canada, it came up as one of the first searches. And I just, out of nowhere, emailed Marnie and I said, hey, you don't know me, but I don't know how to do this and I need help. And she got right back to me and said, actually, Camp Widow is coming to Toronto for the very first time. Can you meet me there? It's in 2 weeks. I said, yes, I can.
If you're
And the
going to tell
rest,
me how to do this, I'm coming right over.
like, you have a place?
That's
Really? So,
right.
yeah. And so I met her there, and the support I got at Camp Widow changed how I was doing things forever. And I slowly got involved with the Hummingbird Centre on a more regular basis, especially for my kids. And so they have a lot of services for widowed families if your kids are living at home. They have their widowed parent group that happens every Thursday, and it's from 7 until 8:30, and it's online for anyone to join. They have an amazing widowed dads group that is the last Wednesday of every month, and that's from 7 until 8:30 in the evening. And that's amazing for these dads that are kind of doing this completely on their own for the first time and don't really understand their strength quite yet, right? So they get to all really talk to each other, and it's other widowed dads that are running it. So that whole sense of community that they provide is pretty amazing up here.
Yeah, really, really amazing. And we've been fortunate. So Marnie and Beth first came to Camp Widow in the US, and then they're the reason why Camp Widow exists in Toronto, because they were like, we need this in Canada, we need this in Canada. And so 5 years ago, or 6 years ago now, we held the first event there. And so I can also tell you that we've recently incorporated in Canada. And so we are on the move. We're filing for our charitable status, I hope this week. And so Soaring Spirits Canada is officially exists at this moment. So
Oh, that's amazing.
yeah,
Congratulations.
we're excited. We're really excited about it. So, but it's all, all part and parcel, right, of community. We, met with Barney and Beth. They came to our programs here. They wanted it there. We've been working together, so we have a history with Hummingbird Center. And Marnie so as you mentioned, there's a support group right this minute, which is why she couldn't be here herself. But when I talked to Marnie about participating in Festival of Hope, they really felt kind of called to Winter Solstice. And so they came up with a really beautiful idea. So I'm going to turn over to you, Catherine. Tell me about what project you guys talked about, and you can share how many questions I had to ask about how to make this thing happen, because I'm so unfamiliar with ice and snow.
Okay, well, it's actually a little bit easier than it sounds to make an actual ice lantern. So how I started was I started with like a normal Tupperware. You can use a glass dish, you can use a can, whatever you'd like. And you basically fill it up with water and you put it in your freezer. Now, the only trick about that is you have to make sure it doesn't solidly freeze. So it's not something you're going to be leaving overnight. You're going to be doing it for a couple hours, maybe 4 hours, just until the ice is all congealed on the outside, but that there's still kind of running water on the inside. So it's just kind of how our lakes freeze. The top freezes first and around the bottom, but the inside is still running water. So this happens when we freeze in a container. And so once it's frozen like that, we have a way to make a little tiny pinprick hole in the top, which we can make a little bigger and dump out all that water that's in the middle. And so I'm just going to excuse myself and get our frozen finished product because I didn't want to leave it on my table.
Right. We don't want it melting. So to be clear, what we're doing is making a winter ice lantern. So you make this lantern, and Catherine has made one for us. And you can imagine there's 100 million ways you could do this. You could put glitter in it. You could leave it plain. You can put it in any kind of container you want that will allow you to flexibly get it out. That's why Catherine used the plastic. So let's see how beautiful it looks.
So when I took it out of the container, we have our ice. And so this would have been the top. I poked a little hole and I slowly made it bigger, carefully. You don't want to shatter it. And then I just turned it upside down to dump the water out. And so now I have a beautiful ice bowl that will have all of that light from the candle glittering on it. So I'm going to light my candle. I'm going to put it into my lantern. So I have my little ice lantern here.
Yay.
I don't know, because it's so light in my room. I don't know if you can really see,
Yeah,
but
we
it's
can
really
we can tell that it's lit for sure.
And then I just got some ribbon to put around so that when I put this outside, it's looking a little bit more festive. But like Michele said, you can add glitter to the water. You can add little ornaments to stick into the water. And so we had the ribbon. And so I just sit it out on my table, on my patio table like this. And so we can use it. And it actually gives quite a bit of light when you're outside. And we can sit and have our hot cocoa and talk, and it's a little nice ambient light. And you can even use them in the front of your house as well to welcome people coming in.
I love it.
Pretty.
Well, and so Catherine said, you know, you could make several if you wanted them up your walkway. So we're going to just say again, no matter where you are living in the world will impact how long. So I asked Catherine, how long would that last for you usually?
So I told Michele I could probably leave it outside and go back to see how it's doing next Tuesday. So,
and I said, mine might last 1 hour if I'm lucky. If it's not too hot of a day, maybe I won't have a puddle of water in 1 hour. But having said that, depending on where you are in the world and also a colder day. So remember, winter solstice is December 21st. And so you still have a couple more weeks. So we could easily create a little ice lantern. And as Catherine reminded you, like if you did a can, obviously your lantern would be taller. And so you would put your hole in the top, and you want a hole obviously big enough to put a candle in. But once you've decided what your shape is and you know for sure you can get it out, I love that you thought of the plastic because it is kind of like an ice tray where you can just sort of wiggle it out. But when I asked Marnie about winter solstice, I said, you know, we want to kind of explore something fun that we can do to kind of honor that welcoming of light. That's when she came up with the idea for the ice lanterns. And when she said to me ice lanterns, I was like, I live in California. I'm not sure what happens. Like, what is an ice lantern? And secondly, what will happen? Well, like, could I make one? So it looks like everyone could make one. It's such a beautiful opportunity for December 21st. So just a thought of how we might recognize the winter solstice. I love it.
it is a fun way to do stuff. And I didn't have to leave my house in order to put this craft together, right? The water came from my tap, the Tupperware came from my cupboard. I didn't have to look for any specialty items. And my kids really enjoyed seeing how it turned out. And my theater kid said he wants to do a whole bunch of them and create a lantern that looks like an igloo.
Nice. Oh my gosh, that would be cool.
Yeah, so he's going to build an igloo with the candles inside to see if he can make a little ice sculpture instead.
Oh, look at them go. That is fantastic. Also, I just had thought that, you know, takeout often here it comes in like a plastic taller bucket. Those would also make really pretty lanterns if you have a taller
Really nice.
plastic.
The tall and the thin, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's our opportunity for kind of welcoming the light for winter solstice. I love it. Does anyone have any questions about how to make it or any, you said something about putting ornaments in it, Catherine. Did you mean like little small things? How does that work?
So if you I do have these angels that I didn't put on my tree this year, and I thought I could have frozen them on the sides. As long as they're under the water and they're heavy enough to be under the water. Now make sure you're putting them upside down, otherwise they'll be upside down. But it should, as long as it's covered by the water, they will glow with the candle.
Oh, that's nice.
Right, on the sides.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different ways you can decorate it with, and all again with stuff inside your own home. Yeah. Some spices and cinnamon would give a nice color to it.
Ooh, right? That's pretty. Yeah.
Yeah, you can do a whole bunch of things.
I love it. Awesome. All right. Well, don't think that we have any other questions. Maddie wanted us to be clear about how to say out. That would be how I should say out, like a Canadian. I feel sure you'll do a better job of that than I will.
I only say out like any other Canadian. I don't even notice a difference between how I say it.
I love it. Okay, so what I'd like to do to wrap up today, our time went by so quickly as it always does. We have the lovely Kath McCormack with us, and I wanted to ask her if she would read a little bit about winter solstice for us. And we're going to kind of close out with a winter solstice like blessing.
Yes. Can you hear me okay? Okay. I am going to, because I can't help it, I don't know, can you see my candle? It's not an ice candle. And I love the idea of an ice candle because for me, ritual and winter solstice really go together. But I'm going to try to light this candle in honor of each of us and in honor of the people that we love, who are not here with us in body, but are absolutely still with us in spirit. So the candle is lit. You kind of probably can't see that, but it is. So I love winter solstice because it does. I just get so excited for the shortest day, because once the shortest day is over, then we start having longer days. And I live in California now, but I lived in Seattle for a really long time. And sometimes I crawled to, I felt like I crawled to winter solstice because it was hard to have dark and short days. So I'm going to read a little bit about what winter solstice, what it is about. And Michele has talked about some of this, but the light of the sun begins a new solar cycle at winter solstice. The rays shine into the dark and nurture the newborn life there to be cultivated. And this is mirrored in nature as the seeds are buried in the darkness of the earth to emerge once again with the life-giving rays of the sun. Winter Solstice 2020 in the Northern Hemisphere is on Monday, December 21st, marking the very first day of winter. At this time, we are experiencing the longest and darkest nights of the year and the shortest days with the least amount of light. The dark triumphs over the light, but this signifies a turning point. In winter, everything lies dormant in the silent earth. It is a sacred time of rest and reflection before the awakening and the slow build toward brighter days. The energy of winter is that of going within. It is the fruitful darkness and silence out of which our soul's yearnings and new inspirations can eventually emerge. As we consciously link our awareness to nature's cycles, our understanding of our own personal growth cycles begins to deepen. Why do we spend so much time suppressing and hiding our darkness? When challenging emotions come up and we feel them, they can feel inconvenient, uncomfortable, or even worse, we sometimes make ourselves wrong for feeling them. And sometimes our friends make us wrong for feeling them too, friends and family. When we fear our own darkness, we cut ourselves off from our essential source of our own personal power, at least one essential source. The key is not in letting darkness overwhelm our lives and our thoughts, but in understanding that darkness can be one of the greatest catalysts for personal growth and transformation. By allowing ourselves to feel our emotions and experience our own darkness, the darkness itself can become the spiritual cradle into which our inner light and new life is born. I love that idea of an inner cradle. I always say to people that we all have this spiritual hammock that kind of sits underneath us. And when we're struggling, at least for me, when I'm struggling, I'm just so tight and tense that I forget that I have that hammock kind of that I can rest into. So I always remind myself to relax around it. And then I can feel that cradle or hammock kind of underneath me that will always hold me up. So I love that they talk about kind of a spiritual cradle. So by allowing ourselves to feel our emotions and experience our own darkness, the darkness itself can become the spiritual cradle into which our inner light and new life is born. Allowing our feelings to guide us helps us feel our truth. Winter solstice is the great stillness before the sun's strength builds and days grow longer. It can be a time to rest and reflect. In Latin, solstice is made of two words, sol meaning the sun and sistere meaning to make stand. Winter solstice is one of the most powerful points of the year as the axis of the earth pauses, shifts, and moves in the opposite direction. For 3 days around the solstice points, we experience the power of the standstill point and the shift of direction. The sun standing still is a powerful metaphor for the energy available to us as the winter solstice to adjust the direction of our lives. It allows us time to adjust the direction of our lives with intention and to build on this energy as we enter into the new year. After experiencing the longest night and darkest day, the nights grow shorter and the days grow brighter until the summer solstice. During winter solstice, let yourself rest in the peace of darkness, knowing the changing of the season and the return of brighter days is ahead. Be reminded that you are always connected to Source and your inner light never dims. Don't pressure yourself to make changes right now or be in action mode. Let the energies of new life and inspiration build slowly within you. Allow yourself to rest. You may want to take time to acknowledge the changes in your life as you honor your love and give yourself credit for your resilience. Whatever you choose to do to mark the end of the year, the coming of the new, and the rebirth of the light, whether pausing in quiet reflection or celebrating with community, know that all over our planet, there are many fires burning brightly. May you find peace in the promise of the solstice night, that each day forward is blessed with more light, that the cycle of nature, unbroken and true, brings faith to your soul and well-being to you. Rejoice in the darkness, in the silence find rest, and may the days that follow be abundantly blessed. Winter solstice.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Kath. Well, I think that about wraps up winter solstice, friends, to rest in the darkness and welcome the light. Catherine and Kath, thank you both so much. Jenny, for your support always. Thank you to all of you. I am so glad to share this time with you each week. Next week, we're on to Hanukkah. Oh, and tomorrow we have a wonderful entertainer. My sister Danielle, who you saw last week, one of her best friends is a music teacher and an artist. And so she will be with us singing tomorrow night. Her name is Jackie Morris. And I'm looking forward to seeing her and hopefully all of you tomorrow for our Friday night entertainment. And then next week we will be continuing on our theme of light with, kind of holding that light up as we're heading towards brighter days through solstice. We'll be lighting the lights of the menorah. So I thank you all so much for being here today. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow and then next week. And take real good care of yourselves. And thank you both, Catherine and Kath, so much for being with us. It was a pleasure. Thank you. All right, everyone. Be well.